questions that came up in the town hall were, has the DoD issued an official position on if SSPs are considered CUI? And related to that, separate question, are assessment results considered to be CUI? And the answer that was given on the town hall was similar to other answers in other forums is, well, the department has indicated that it should be treated as CUI, or the department has gestured with their hands in the air to indicate that it should be CUI. And my understanding is, if it's not an authority listed in the CUI registry, it's not CUI. If it's not a provisional category of CUI in the registry, it's not even about to be CUI. I don't care what the department says or what they feel or what they think. If it needs to be CUI, you need to write an authority that says so. But that's my understanding. I wanted to get your understanding here.
Yeah, there's two components going on right here, right? Like, are a private sector company's system security plan or plans considered CUI? And then there's this other part, which is, is an agency or the DoD allowed to specify safeguarding in the absence of CUI? Mm-hmm. So there's kind of these two components here, right? So the first component of it would be that system security plan information about a private sector company, at least from everything that I've read, would not qualify as any of the leading CUI authorities to be CUI, because it's not government owned information. And even when it's in the hands of the AB or a C3PAO, it's not possessed by the government either. Mm-hmm. And so the government's primary authority reasons for something being CUI is to prevent the release of a piece of information under a Freedom of Information Act request. Mm-hmm. Private sector companies don't have the same obligations to release things under a FOIA request. You'd laugh if someone tried to FOIA your private company. So
I mean, April Fool's Day is coming up soon. So
yeah, it just doesn't track. And so when you've got a system security plan, it doesn't qualify as information systems vulnerability information. We talked about that in CS2. That's an incredibly limited authority. Mm-hmm. There would be very few situations I could think of where you'd even get into these conversations. So the only reason that I could muster why an SSP would be CUI is that the contractor wanted it to be. Mm-hmm. They chose to market in such a way that if received by the DoD, they would have to treat it as CUI. And even then, the DoD would still have to get a copy, right? So now we're talking about a DIBCAC assessment. We're not talking about a private C3PAO assessing you.
Right.
So that's the only situation I could think of in which an SSP would be considered CUI. And in those situations, I would absolutely want to force the DoD to treat it as CUI.
Right. Can my private business engaging with Jason's private business C3PAO voluntarily go out and get a CMMC assessment that generates results? And if I never do business with the government ever, it's somehow CUI, the data generated between our two private companies? It doesn't make any sense.